Hello everybody, it's Debbie with Cool Cats Art. Well, I've been on cloud pours for a little bit and I need to do a couple of sunflowers. I have done a couple of them and people really liked them, so I need to get back to that. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to do a sunflower pour, which is essentially a Dutch pour. And so when you're doing a Dutch pour, you want the paint consistency on your consistency gauge, which I strongly urge you to use, and I'll put a link to it in the description box. You can download it and print it out. You want your paints to run around between 4 and 5 for a Dutch pour if you're using this gauge. And I always do use this gauge. Although with Dutch pours, it's fairly easy to eyeball it because you just want the consistency so that it's not leaving a mound in your cup. It's very, very thin paint. If it does leave a mound, it instantly disappears. And I usually put mine on here enough so that thin it down enough that there's really no mound at all. It sinks right back down into itself. And that's the consistency you want for Dutch pours. And the colors I'm using, and this is a mixture of colors, no particular colors. You can use any brand of color that you want, really. There's practically no limit to the amount of color combos you can use, but I usually do use a black for the sunflower center, or eye, if you will. And then I'm gonna come back next with a yellow. Then I'm gonna come in with an orange, a red, and lastly, a blue to sort of indicate a sky, more or less. So that's the way I'm going to put the colors down on the canvas. And these go pretty quickly. So let's start out with pouring. Make sure you have to constantly check the consistency of these paints because they will thicken up really quick. And one thing I have learned is you almost have to get them painfully thin, uncomfortably thin, in order for them to be right. So I'm always having to re-thin them a little bit. I have a spray bottle of water here that I just squirt in. That'll do the trick. Okay. Now let's start out with pouring our black here, outlining where our black is going to be. Now as I'm looking at this, I almost wished I had mixed up some white and just poured some white over in here to help with this flow, because I'm a little bit afraid I'm going to run just a little bit shy of paint. This is pretty thick on here and it may very well blow out and be just fine, but I would sure be a lot more comfortable, I think, if I had some more white paint over here. So I'm going to quickly mix up a little bit of white paint and do an extender, some flow extender over here. I'll be back in a jiff. Okay, I'm back with some flow extender paint. I'm gonna put some white down on this end just because I just wanna make sure I've got a slick surface down here for the rest of this to glide over. Okay, so now it's time to blow, and I'm going to blow this way, of course, across the canvas, bring the colors this way. I'm going to leave this blank right now, and when I get this blown out, the reason I'm not filling this in right now is because when I start blowing here, I don't want it to pick up tons and tons of black paint dragging it across. I probably have almost too much now, just some of it. And then when I get all this blown out, I'll come back in and fill in the rest of the black. I'm using kind of a smallish hair dryer for this, but it's got a pretty strong blow on it, so I think it'll be fine. I usually use high air but cool eat, and this has a cool shot button, so That's what we'll use today. That's good. It's got kind of a Fiesta vibe to it. Thank you for watching, and I'll be doing some more in some different colors.